The Tao Eternally group has returned. Hello, everyone. We've got Laina with us, Hamid, and Randall Kaiser, whose hand just made him disappear. So Randall will be back in a second. There he is. Hello, Randall.
Oh, God. I'm struggling here. You go ahead.
All right. Laina, you're not from Carolina, but you are from the US.
Sort of.
Sort of.
I am part Dominican and part American. My dad's American, my mom's Dominican, and I grew up in the Dominican until I was 14 years old. But because I have an American dad, we grew up always speaking English, even though I grew up in a Dominican Spanish-speaking country. So I'm really from both places, I would say equally.
I see. And where are you actually calling in from today?
I am calling in from Atlanta, Georgia, where I have lived for about, let's see, my daughter's 33, 34 years.
Wow, cool. Well, welcome.
Thank you. So glad to be here.
This is the first time you've joined us, but you have interviewed Randall before. We've seen you on Randall's channel before. Although Randall, I think it's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's got to be. What has it been, Laina? Probably a year and a half or more, maybe. But we communicate on Facebook and stuff like that.
Yes.
But the interview thing that we did was probably close to 2 years ago.
I know. Time for another one.
Yeah, that's right. Well, here we are.
Here we are. Awesome. And Hamid, how are you, man?
Doing good, man. Doing good. It's just, yeah. I want to see what you will do, William. I'm interested in the developments in your life, and I want to see if you will create the platform that I hope you create.
Awesome. I will talk about what I think Hamid might be alluding to, and if not, then I'm totally okay with being wrong about it. But I wanted to start off just by, like, we haven't talked in a long time, this group, and the dynamic of the group is always changing because we seem to have different people that come in and pop out and that kind of thing. But I'm curious as to, what's been happening in your world. What kind of things have you been noticing coming up in your world? Like for me,
well, as you know, that it took me 20 years to finally get my book together, and I am now published the book on Amazon, which is kind of crazy. Not that anybody takes it or anything, but at least I have a book on Amazon, and things, the way they are changing and the way are more and more, it's like the more and more you kind of, we talked about this with you, William, and it's this thing about really trusting that the universe will provide. And we had a call with Jenny the other day, and it was really interesting because, Jenny talks about a lot about this thing that we have these inverted timelines, and there are so many inverted timelines. And the fact is that there exist in inverted timelines because our wounded parts, our shadow parts, create them. So the less shadow stuff you have, the less shadow material you have, the less wounded parts you have, the less hidden wounded parts you have, the less shadow material, the less these crazy, stupid, drama-filled, crappy timelines will be created. And I am working with a dear friend who came to me, and she wanted me to help her, get rid of a narcissist in her life. And when I tried to do that, a part of said, no, I want it. I don't want to give him up, right? And then discovering that, I'm like, okay, so I can't really do anything for you until we figure out what this guy is bringing to you. And then what I discovered is that what he's bringing is bringing sort of a toxic adrenaline to her life. And until we can figure out what we replace that toxic adrenaline with, doesn't matter how many ceremonies of clearing I help her do, how much prayer she does, that thing would be created back. And this is the whole thing. And you and I have talked extensively about this, William, that you need to change things internally. And then what happens outside you doesn't really matter. Something amazing can happen or something not so amazing can happen. It doesn't matter. If you have done your internal work, the world will be amazing. If you haven't done your internal work, it doesn't matter how much stuff, amazing stuff happens out there. We will find a way to make ourselves miserable.
I can relate to that. Actually, I can really relate to that. Randall, what do you have some thoughts on that?
Oh man, that was a great way to start the show. Like, external trauma that's presented to us constantly, and then we become addicted to it, don't we, Hamid? Like we just, we're constantly allowing that external. You used a word. Come on, bring me back to what you said there, Hamid. You said it at the beginning, and now I dropped it.
Timelines. There are all these inverted timelines that Jenny talks about it. So there's all this stuff that you see, and this conversation originated in the fact that somebody asked, how is that we lose our connection to source? How is that we leave the quantum source field? And the simple answer is that when you have all that wounded parts screaming inside your head, you can't stay present in quantum source field.
Right. And where do we get that stuff? We get it externally, right? We're getting this constant barrage of not just trauma, but conflict from the media, like constantly, like the good guy, bad guy, victim, perpetrator stories that go on in that dualistic mentality versus the oneness of the soul and the oneness of God that's within. And I'm sure Laina has some comments here that she'd like to bring in. Maybe I'd present to you. I don't know if you know Laina, but she's very much, and one thing that really resonated with her and I and a few other people I know, Andrea Grace, for instance, is A Course in Miracles. And, it is a very internal presentation of what we are as soul, as that oneness. So maybe you can share a bit on that with us, Laina, before we go off on another tangent.
Oh, so this is a group that goes on tangents? Then I'm in the right group. Oh my goodness, that's beautiful, because if we have multidimensional conversations, then that's a lot of fun. Well, I certainly appreciate, Hamid, am I pronouncing that correctly, Hamid? That you started the conversation with that, because for almost 20 years, that's the work that I've been doing. And specifically the last, I guess about 10 years, 11 years, Course in Miracles came into my life, or I was guided to it. I received my guidance from the consciousness that we know as Jesus. And it was time to begin to study A Course in Miracles so that I could correct a lot of spiritual misperceptions that I had, so that I could clear up my mind of a lot of the, what I call spiritual cul-de-sacs, most spiritual people get stuck inside of, and we get really spiritualized, but we spiritualize our ego. And as you were talking about the inverted timelines, to me, I would consider that to be, it's just karma. Those inverted timelines are karmic swings of the pendulum, giving us more opportunities to look at that which we need to acknowledge is within ourselves. So the narcissist that she brought into her life is a mirror of her own inner narcissist, who continues to beat her up and punish her and paint a pretty picture. I've got it all together, but yet we are narcissistic to ourselves when we stay in a narcissistic relationship so that the external is a reflection of the internal. So, I mean, I don't know what else to add to that. You just said it perfectly, but that is the work that many are ready to do, because I see humanity in different stages of development, and those who are moving out of those karmic timelines are the ones who I would say are co-creating the new 4D timeline to move us into that 5D potential. Because I don't think there are too many operating at the 5D timeline. There are many grounding themselves in 4D, preparing the mind for the seeds of the 5D timeline. But you can't add seeds of the 5D timeline, which is accept that level of frequency of truth, until we till the 3D soil and clean it up of all of the 3D, well, I'll just call it manure, but it's really been the fertilizer in which we have grown our dramas and our traumas and all of that. I guess the last thing I'll say about this is nobody gets out of this and into the place where we're headed without first acknowledging we made this up because we wanted to. And nobody's here because we got sent to the prison planet. We volunteered to enter the prison of the mind. It was a choice because we knew we would never lose our way home. We just had to be willing to begin to walk down that path. It's like the Hansel and Gretel story. You know, nobody made them get into the witch's pot. They did that on their own, but they had the bread trail crumb to get out. And that's basically where we are. The 4D opportunity is the bread trail crumb, but you can't blame the witch and you can't blame the narcissist. They're giving us this crazy ass journey.
I wanted to throw something in here, Randall, too. So unless you have something you really want to jump in right away, I'll jump in then. Thank you, Randall. And then I'll pass it to you afterwards. I just wanted to respond briefly to what Hamid had said as well, because I was watching a Lori Ladd video yesterday, and she was, from her world, from the things that she gets, the messages she gets, however she gets them. I found it fascinating. I don't necessarily say that I agree with everything she says or shares, but it's still very interesting. And one of the things she said about May is that this is a month that will be a month that has a lot of intensity to it. We've been receiving a lot of light as beings from outward sources, from other sources, and all of those ugly things, all of those, it's just going to be intense. Like there's a lot of different kinds of emotions will be coming up, and it'll be interesting to see what each of us do with those feelings and emotions. It sort of brings up very much like Hamid's story, about one of his clients is, the client is basically saying, I want to get rid of this. No, I don't. Sort of like at first you think you want to get rid of it, and then when you're actually presented with the opportunity of letting it go, you actually hang on to it. You actually defend it, and you say, no, I'm not doing that. No, because there's something there for you. So we're discovering and learning, our attachments and all of the different things that we're still sort of clung to, or that we've glommed onto, that we haven't let go of yet. So that's quite fascinating. And I'll say more a little bit later, but Randall, if you had something else you wanted to add to that.
Yeah, just a little bit, like the singularity word has actually come up. I scroll through Facebook feeds and a few other things once in a while too, because my job, if you want to call it that, or my role, has really picked up in the last month or so. It's just tremendous amount of extra work we've been doing. But I've seen that word singular or singularity coming up even just in the, community of alternative media, which is great. And the singularity to me comes, and the miracles come when the singularity is just love, like Laina said, like when we can't blame the witch, it's like me kind of moving through this aspect of these dumbass politicians, like thank you to these politicians is my new attitude. And I love you for playing out your role, because if they wouldn't have, we wouldn't have gotten to this stage, which is truly a revolution or a re-love-ocean, however you want to call it, for mankind. And our balance and harmony with back with nature, Mother Nature, and the singularity of God and the goodness. So that's all I wanted to add. I really appreciate you guys, and this is a great start. So keep it up. Let's hear what Hamid says.
So I wanted to speak to what Laina said. Basically, there are those that say, hey, I didn't want to be here. And that's not really true, because as these guys know, Laina, I have a very deep connection or deep interest in ET stuff. I'm an ET myself. I'm an extraterrestrial. And as Elena Denan was saying, actually, those of us who volunteer here, and there are not that many of us, maybe 200 million, something, whatever. But to actually be on Earth right now, to be here now, it's like a highly coveted thing. So it's not only, you weren't forced here, you like had to win so many accolades to actually qualify to be here. Of course, that's for those of us who volunteered, and like me, we are ETs. And imagine ourselves here to help humanity. I'm not human. I was, I have very little experience of Earth and this reality. But what's another thing which is really brilliant, as Elena said, and this really I took to my heart, is that there are a lot of humans, and which are basically, they have the whole humanity, the soul of humanity. Most of Earth is humans. A lot of humans want to be ETs, and they feel that, oh, being like this and is very special. And what Elena was saying, and it's really brilliant, is actually the humans are the treasure. Because as Alex Collier says, each human could be up to a combination of 22 extraterrestrial races, 22. That makes humans extremely special. That makes them royalty. I am an ET, probably I just came from one place and it's not like 22 places. So that's the thing, when humans think they're not special, they are super special, because what they bring, what they have, and us ETs here are not as special. But these humans, of course, they don't know what the hell they're doing. That's why we are here. And the next thing I wanted to say is that I have had so much compassion for every human since the COVID started, because when the COVID thing started, for me, I was completely like, okay, thank God another shoe dropped. I have not been crazy for the last 50 years. This is actually happening. Great. And I've had so much compassion for humans because, as I said, I'm an ET, and I've had probably millions, and if not thousands or whatever, thousands, if not millions of incarnations preparing myself for this reality, to become completely insane, to be laughing at every lie that they tell me. And to me, if a human being is following the mainstream media and accepting what they see here, and accepting that what Darwin said, and what Pasteur said, and what Edison did, and all this crap, if they actually believe that, they have every right to, because they would have to have a black belt 10th degree right now to be in this reality. And most people don't even have a white belt. And we are being put in a situation that you have to deal with the thing that as if you have a black belt. So I have so much respect and so much appreciation, and I don't judge people. And I'm like, to be able to not believe all the crap that they're telling you, you need 10,000 lifetimes. And if you have to do it right now, and if you can, I understand.
I want to say something
Sure,
to
Laina.
your comment. Thank you so much for that. Nice to meet you, ET brother. And what really is, it is fun for me in this work, especially as I've matured my consciousness, my conscious awareness, is that whole idea that we're not special is what creates this veil of illusion that has us go into feeling insignificant, that allows us to buy into the hierarchies and the lies of somebody superior to the 99% being inferior. And that is, to me, the fun thing about the work that I do, the people that I work with, is when they get to the place that they have that aha moment. There are two places that are exciting to me. I call them, two big markers in the awakening. One is when they have that aha, wait a minute. So I'm not this insignificant victim, this insignificant person that I thought that I was. That aha begins that journey to swing that pendulum over for correction towards finding out who we really are. Then that second aha is when we realize, oh, nobody's more special than anybody else. So we're all equal. We're all from the same consciousness. So it's really funny, because there has to be, well, funny at this stage, and I can share this with you guys because you get it. But it's really sad how we operate in, I'm not special enough and I'm not significant. And then it's funny when you have to come to realize, well, no, you really are not special and not more significant than anybody else. But to come to that releasing of needing to be special, you first have to go through the journey of reclaiming your specialness. So it's a crazy ass journey.
Well, I like
Agreed.
to say the only thing that we have in common is that all of us are unique.
Yes, equally unique.
Yeah.
Yes, which is a crazy paradox, but it's the mind has to be prepared to accept that beautiful flowering in consciousness that accepts not only are we equal to everything else, not even everybody else, but everything else, but we are unique inside of that equality. And the mind has to be prepared out of specialness, but first we got to reclaim our specialness.
Right. So it's kind of like, you're not that special not to be not special.
Exactly. Oh my God, I wish this would have been the kind of interview that I would love to put on my podcast. So maybe you'll allow me to take snippets of it, because this is exactly what so many are ready for this level of conversation, who are moving out of, I'm getting ready to do a talk with a friend of mine, and our topic is beyond spirituality, because spirituality is a cocoon, and it's a wonderful place to move out of religion and to move into the spiritual cocoon and just immerse yourself with the what you need to get your spiritual wings going. And but then you got to fly out of that spiritual cocoon, or you get stuck in there. But this is a beautiful, no wonder I had to be here today.
Laina, what's funny about this is that I lived in Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, when everybody's name was Ananda or Spirit Fire or I don't know, chicken noodle or something, whatever. People come up with these names, and I have Randall, Laina, William, Hamid, like, I don't really need to have some kind of a, whatever guru name to be, it becomes so weird, right? Like, Randall knows my dear friend Jenny, and she's so close to spirit, and she's never found some kind of I am butterfly, flame, moth or something. It's crazy.
It's funny funny he mentions that, guys. I think this is a good time for me to pop in some of the things that we were hinting at at the top of the interview. I've been working with Hamid, and he gave me some homework this week, and the homework was to get in touch with, like, what I've discovered in working with Hamid is that he sees the different individuals that you are in. I don't know if you want to call it spirit form or self form or whatever, but like for example, there's the critical me, and there's the negotiator me, and there's the gentle me, and there's the critical me, and there's a bunch of different me's. But there's also that inner child as well, that innocent inner child. And so part of the homework that he gave me was, and it came out of our, one of our sessions, was that I just get on the microphone if I want to do a recording or just have a conversation, perhaps, whatever way worked for me. And so what I chose to do is I do a regular Zoom call with myself, basically. And I get on there and I ramble for a little bit as just, my everyday me. And then I allow myself, my inner child, my innocent inner child, which we actually have given a name. And no, it's not peace, flower, mother, father, godness, that kind of thing. But it's still a cute little name because it's a pet name that my father gave me, but it had such a wonderful connection to it that we've used that name. And the name is Vilche. Like, my name is William, and we use Vilche, Vilche. So Vilche comes on and he shares whatever he's feeling in his heart. And so I recorded these messages, and I started doing that like on Wednesday this week, after a very busy last weekend. And it was quite surprising at what came out of that. And so I felt like I wanted to share it. I shared it with Randall, and I shared it with Hamid. And I shared the second one I did with Hamid as well. And then I did a third one on Friday night. And what Hamid and I were starting to get was that there's some wisdom in this that would be beneficial for others to hear. And so I shared with Hamid that there's a part of me that's always wanted to share wisdom with people, but I wasn't really in touch with that wisdom. I just knew that there was something I wanted to say, wanted to share, felt like there was this urge to do it. But there was kind of what you were talking about, Laina, just a moment ago, was sort of like, oh, well, I'm not that wise, or I'm not that significant, or I'm not that important, or all that kind of stuff. And even though Randall at times has encouraged me to throw more stuff onto the TAO channel myself, like even if I did my own version, what Randall does on his channel would be fun. And so in communicating with Hamid about this communication I'm getting from Vilche, it definitely seemed like a different energy, like a completely different person. And so we both got the feeling that I should be putting this on the TAO channel, our YouTube channel, on a regular basis. Like, I was going to say daily, but I don't like to be rigid about it. Like, say, it should be like this, because I feel like if it becomes too obligatory, then you kind of force it, and I don't want to force it. But I do feel that there was value in what I shared. And even though the first message was more toward me, William, the next two were more like general for like the world could hear. So, and it's not like I go into a trance or I do anything weird, or I, flick my body in weird shapes to get into it. I just close my eyes and get real quiet for a moment and just imagine. And I actually have a picture of me as a child. And I just look at that to kind of get me into that space. And then I just surrender. And whatever comes out, but it's really quite fascinating. So, so I'm declaring that here, that I'm going to be putting some of these things on the TAO Eternally channel over the next little while to see what happens, you know, and we'll go from there. But I wanted to share that. Any thoughts about, okay, obviously I shared something kind of personal with me, but is there anything that resonates with any of you that you want to address about any of this?
William, one reason that I came to this call today was kind of kick your ass and make you do this. So I am so proud of you to do this, because William, Laina has this uncanny ability, and this was in our very first sessions, that he could access his inner child and just move and then let this part speak. And there is something really special about this part, because there is so much wisdom and compassion. And it's, you know, and William, you know, God bless his heart, is that he has this kind of erratic, chaotic thing and asks these questions, and then Vilche comes out and he sounds like a little guru. He's amazing. Like, the difference is unbelievable. It's like, and then he does it like that, and it's like, wow. And as he said, the messages, that the way he speaks, the things he says are simple and beautiful, and they're not only about William, they're about our suffering as humanity. They're amazing.
Oh, it was beautiful, that first one. You know, the first part of it, William, was strange to me, but when Vilche came on, it was like, holy cow, this is just awesome stuff. So it is worthwhile taking a look at, Laina, if you got a minute or two. But you know, it's that unique spark of the divine is what it is. You know, like, each of us has it in us, and what we use for language to describe it, whether it be ET as as Hamid has chosen, or alien as I kind of choose, because I don't feel I'm of this world, and Jesus Christ chose I'm not of this world. You know, like, everybody chooses the language a little bit differently. I mean, the people I deal with are, you know, especially lately, more and more royal family members, right? So they are alien to the government structure, or, you know, the legal jurisdiction. So that's the word that I've been choosing lately. But yeah, it's such a, and then acceptance from, you know, three buddies. Now you're here with us, but the three of us have grown through this and accepted each other. Like, Hamid thinks we live on a spinning ball. I think we live on a flat earth, and there's no, you know, argument. It's just, okay, you know, I love you, brother, you know, like, that uniqueness, and people that can see that in us, that oneness, that love, that's not judgmental, that's not, oh, you're wrong. You know, certainly we all miss the mark, which is, you know, the definition of sin in Aramaic language, but you know, what's perfection? You know, we're all different, so we can't call out each other as being wrong or not perfect. We're all sinners, if you want to call it that, or we're all perfect, if you want to call it that. So it's so much about our own individual choices, beyond the idea of being controlled, or allowing that trauma and that duality mentality to enter our peaceful oneness.
I love that. So, William, tell me the name of your inner child again.
Vilche.
Vilche.
V is in Victor, Ilche. Vilche.
Well, as your Vilche was speaking, my inner child, which is to me Christ consciousness, was like, yes, yes, yes. So excited. You know, the Course in Miracles was really instrumental to helping me realize there's a line in there that says, you know, we're not from here. It says we are all aliens here. And whether you see it as a round earth spinning or as a flat earth, to me, it's not even solid. So it doesn't matter if it's round or flat. It's just pure imagination. But what does tie us all together in having the dream, however we want to have it, is that inner child, and which to me is where we're all the same as the Christ consciousness, which is not Jesus. It's the essence that Jesus achieved, that is that what we're all made of. So once you tap into what you're made of, that's where we're all the same, and then that expresses uniquely. But my inner child was so excited to hear your inner child is that you're in touch with your inner child, because that's the only way that we've been indoctrinated, is when our inner child is shamed into going down into the, you can call it the attic of your mind, or the basement of whatever, it retreats into the corner. And it stays back there because it is just love and gentleness. It never pushes its way out. It doesn't attack to be seen and heard. That's what the ego does. It begins to take on that protective persona that then does battle with everybody else once it's done battle with us first. We're its first victim. But that reclaiming of that authentic self, that higher consciousness, that is our wise part. And that is precisely what those who understand the psychology of the human condition have absolutely, through their understanding of the mind, indoctrinated humanity into this slumber. But it is not until we tap into that higher consciousness of our inner child, which resides in our heart. It doesn't reside in the mind. The mind, we go to it, as I understand it, we go retrieve our inner child by entering the maze of the mind, but that inner child exists within the heart. And that's what these controllers, they can't do. That's why they sacrifice children, because they're projecting out there the death of the outer child, because their inner child to them is dead to them, because that's why they want the blood of the children to return themselves into innocence, because they think they lost it. But little do they know, they didn't lose it. They're just not tapping into it, because their mind is even more controlled into thinking they can control other minds. Because the layers of insanity, they just go deeper and deeper and deeper. That's why it's so difficult to wake up. But those people are the ones who are the most disconnected from their heart. That's why we have to connect with our heart, so we can love on them and show them, Vilche, show them, my Lainita. That's what I called my inner child when I did that inner child healing, was to retrieve. It's what my grandmother called me, and she was my dearest person. So that's why, like you took the name that your dad called you, my grandmother called me Lainita, among other really funny names that from time to time I would go and try on, because they had a frequency of joy and a frequency of fun and excitement, and frankly, a frequency of freedom that we don't experience when we get conditioned into becoming cogs in the wheel of, corporate America bullshit, insanity. So congratulations on tapping into that. And thank you for expressing that with the world, because I think a very important part that we have as those who are understanding this, we have a very important role, and that is to model what we're discovering that brings us into wholeness. So the more you share that, the more you are showing the way. Like as Jesus said, he was showing us the way, and Gandhi showed us the way. So many have shown us the way, and you're showing the way. So thank you, brother.
Thank you.
William,
Yes, Hamid.
can I ask Vilche to make an appearance right now?
Sure. We'll give it a go. I wanted to say one thing real quick.
Okay.
That it's like it's not like I've adopted Vilche into my life. to this point. But what I have done is I've, at least now with this exercise, I've allowed space for that to occur. I'm still I still am spending most of my time sort of in the scatterbrain kind of approach. But I will say too, as I've introduced Vilche into my life, it's already starting to have more of a calming effect. So I can see why Hamid's encouraging me to further do this.
Okay, so Vilche, are you here?
One moment, he's not here yet. Okay. One thing I need to do, stand by. Just to let you know what's happening or what I'm up to here is I like to bring a picture of Vilche in front of me. And so I'm just opening up that picture to allow me to do that. And because I'm recording this as well, it's taking a little bit of extra work. There we go. Okay, fantastic. Were you wanting to guide this a little, Hamid?
Yeah, Vilche, are you here?
Yes.
Okay, Vilche, I'm not gonna take a long of your time today. I just have one simple question for you. How do you feel about this new situation where William is allowing you to present yourself and speak to the public and maybe have a forum and a platform to speak and share your wisdom with the world? How do you feel about that? What do you think about that?
I feel that it is just, it is what it needs to be. If it needs to be heard by one person, wonderful. If it's heard by thousands, millions, wonderful too. If it's heard by no one except William, that too is wonderful.
Short and sweet, Vilche. So what part of this process, this new process that William is going to engage in giving you this platform, this situation, this forum, what part of it, or how does that affect you, or how does that excite you? Is there any kind of excitement in there for you? Is there anything that you can do creatively? Is there anything that you can play with? Are there any things like that that come to mind?
I speak primarily from what I see. And of course, I see mostly what William is doing. And so that's what I'm connected to. But because William is connected to everyone, it can apply to more than just William. So I feel excited. Yes, I feel excited. I feel excited for whoever the message resonates with.
I'm gonna ask you one last question. What would be your message to other people who watch this who have their inner child like you traumatized and in pain or hidden, that they don't really know their inner child. They are not in touch with their inner Vilche. What would be your message to them?
Remember a time of innocence. Remember a time from your youth, a time where you felt complete joy, unabashed. I can't find the word, but that 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 spiritness, that aliveness, where there was nothing that you were afraid of. There was nothing that stopped you from being you. You could pretend you could be anyone. You could fly. You could be invisible. You could be happy. You could be sad. You could be anything you wanted. Remember that energy. Tune into that energy. Discover that energy for yourself. Remember that energy, because that energy is in you. Look for it. Feel for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vilche. Are there any last words you want to say to us today before you leave?
Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. Thank you for allowing this world to be what this world is, even if it looks scary or different than what you thought it should look like. Just allow and be as best you can. I love you.
Love you, Vilche. Have a good day. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Vilche and William and Hamid. That's awesome. You guys like it? You know what it reminded me of as I was sitting here listening is my son, when he was about, I don't know, maybe 15, 16. No, he would have been a little older than, maybe 18 years old. He started a YouTube challenge. Somebody said to him, okay, do 90 days, do a video every day. And I don't care who watches, and just do it and show yourself. And when I started doing my YouTube channel, I don't know, it's been quite a few years now already too. I'd watch my own videos and like, where the hell did you come up with that? You know, like I'd look back at my own video, and even till today, like, you know, and we say it on our shows that we did together, William, and not, well, I'm probably going to say something that's going to lose some more people today. And we just say it anyway, you know? So is this YouTube idea, or, you know, you video recording Vilche, a good idea? By all means. And it might be just for you or for me or for Hamid or whoever else that, you know, wants to take a look at it, but it could be all just for you, you know? Because I know it helped me grow, like, and I continue. Like, you know, I look at some of the past videos I've got, and I'm like, people are so sick of me. I'm there every day. Like, I just keep doing a video every day, and I know people are just like, oh, it's the same shit again, so they don't watch it. Like, there's 1,800 or 1,900 subscribers on my channel, but I know there's only a few that watch them. Well, I don't know for sure, but I know I watch them. I watch myself, you know, each day, one time, maybe sometimes two times, and I get something out of it. So good on you, William. And you know, please use the channel. It's there for us, and it's there for you. It's,
Yeah, thank you, Randall. I was going to also say before we did that little exercise where Vilche came along to visit, yeah, there's still that, you know, and I said this a little bit already too, but there's still that 3D side of me, if you will, that says this is all crazy. We're talking about aliens and spirits and this and that. What does this have to do with the Vancouver Canucks? I mean, this is not reality, right? This is like, you know, I don't like, there's that part of me, right? There's that serious 3D, it's got to be a certain way. No one's going to buy this. They're all going to think I'm crazy stuff. There's that there, I have a side of that, you know, there's definitely a part of that. But what I've learned, and to be honest with you, Randall, from watching your videos, especially, what I've learned is acceptance. Is that, you know, and you said this earlier about, you know, talking with Hamid, and you have very different views on certain things, and yet you don't hate each other. You don't try to bend each other's arms to your will and say, no, this is my way and this is the way it is. You accept. And that's what I'm just starting to get now, is a new level of acceptance. I've heard the word before. I've said the word before. I've accepted certain things before, but I'm getting more and more to a place of accepting bigger, I guess, is what, you know, like energetically, not just mentally, you know, and that I think is part of, I know, my evolution for sure. And I'm sure I'm not alone in that. So thank you, Randall. Thank you, brother, for that. And thank you, Hamid, for guiding that portion of the show.
Well, that was beautiful to witness. And
Thank
when
you.
we all let our inner child come out to play, that's when we will have peace on earth. And then from that place, we co-create, because kids just want to play and have fun in pure innocence and awareness that this is just all substance that we can just play with, and it's pliable. But when we play with the substance of creation from a pure innocent heart, everything is benevolent and in service to all. But when we play with a substance with a mind that is corrupted, it creates prisons, it creates blocks, it creates suffering. And that's why we have to invite all the inner children to come out to play, because until our inner child is running the show, our wounded child is running the show. And that wounded child is projecting its woundedness in how many people can I make suffer, because I'm suffering. So thank you for opening up that portal, because it's very difficult to open up the portal to that inner innocence when we have a adult ego that is very methodical and in control and judges this as not real, because the mind got conditioned into thinking this is childish, but it is the highest frequency that we can attain is our childlike sense of wonder. So, but you got to move that bully child out of the way through, you know, that courage and desire to open up something that, well, it's the path to freedom. So congratulations. Thank you.
I just wanted to say a couple of things to what Laina said. One is that it's interesting because for me, during my inner child work for the last 22 years or something, 21 years, is my inner child is not running the show. My inner child is part of the team. I have a boardroom. There is you go from a cacophony to symphony, and there's a boardroom, inner boardroom, where my inner child sits has a prominent position, but he's not running the show, because there are people I have seen their children are running the show and they're not doing very well. There is a cooperation between the adult part, the parent part, the responsible part, the playful part. All of them, they play different roles. That was one thing. The other thing is that you spoke about these monsters that control our reality, and trauma is the thing that creates this matrix. unhealed trauma, because I have had a lot of trauma. Everybody has had a lot of trauma, but you heal that trauma and it's like that Japanese thing. I forget what it is, the thing that breaks and you put it together and it's even better. I forget the word, pisogi or something. So the thing is that if you are a person on the path to self-discovery and to growth, then if you have a wound, somebody says, hey, you have a wound on your arm, and you're like, oh, let me look at it. Oh, wow, that looks bad. Let me investigate it. Let me heal it. Let me work with it. But the satanic cabal and the cancel culture and all the people with cognitive dissonance and all that stuff that follows, they actually, rather than actually go into that wound and investigate it and healing, they do everything in their life to glorify that wound and that trauma and continue to create more and more trauma. And if you don't have trauma, and you can watch movies and TVs or whatever, if you talk about playfulness or celebration or joy or simplicity or abundance, and you talk to these people, they laugh at you. They completely humiliate you because they have, to them, trauma is life. It is the meaning of life. And you're here to have trauma, to create more trauma, and to continue to have trauma. And when you follow the satanic cabal and what they do, they create trauma from the time a child even is not born. They abuse a child before birth. And one of my sources, Gene Decode, says these people, because they have a lot of knowledge about soul and sex and all this stuff, they actually make sure most of the children are born in the wrong body, so that it's female soul goes in the male body, male soul goes in the female body. They've done this for thousands of years because that causes and creates more trauma.
I wanted to throw something in here too, kind of almost pancake on top of that. I thought of JFK when Laina was talking for a moment. I thought of JFK and I thought, what came out of JFK and the assassination of JFK was the term conspiracy theorist. And it was used as a way of knocking people down and disclaiming them. The same thing can be said for words like insanity, or you're out of your mind, or you're crazy, or whatever. It's those words, those labels that get slapped on people that all of a sudden dismisses that person, and all of a sudden anything else that person says is not taken with any credibility at all. And I know for the longest time for me, I have been afraid of that. I've been afraid of being labeled and then ostracized from society, because as I said, a little earlier, is, there's that 3D part of me that's saying, like space alien, spirituality, like, whoa, this is too non-physical for me and I can't handle it. And therefore I don't want to be labeled a loony or hanging out with strange people and, being dismissed. But that word acceptance again comes in, and it's sort of like, if you can get past the labels, if anyone throws a label at you, and continue to go down the path that you were led down the path toward, and just allow yourself to be and accept everything, then you become more of a space of being accepting to people like Randall's, philosophies and things, because I don't agree with everything Randall says, but I'm not going to disprove or say, like, how do I know he's wrong? And does it matter if you're right or wrong anyways? Maybe right and wrong isn't a global thing. Maybe right and wrong is individual. Maybe it's what's right and wrong for you. So those are all things that have sort of, come to me just out of this conversation.
The beauty of words is that there's a good side of every one of them. So conspiracy theory or conspiracy theorist or whatever had a detrimental kind of overtone to it. But what does it mean? It means spire, breathe, con together. So breathe together. So what a group of people chose to do was to breathe together, to think together, and to, manipulate mankind together. But that's impossible because we now have chosen to accept them and love them for their attempt and just say, that's okay.
Mhm.
I'm still sovereign. I'm still alien to your world. I'm still an ET in your terrain, like Hamid says it, like he's not going to put up with that shit. So it's okay. We love you anyway, and does it mean that we should conspire? Should we breathe together? Well, on some issues. And the one main issue being, let's just love everybody. Let's find the miraculous components of love and how love just brings the miracles to us when we think in terms of love. So yeah, it's taking those words that we've been told are the spells and turning them around. You are the gold, you are the authentic one, William. And one thing I wanted to mention before we kind of wind it up, I think it's getting time, was that your voice is very unique. Like I've noticed when I listen to you, and when Vilche was speaking earlier too, but like for instance, Alan Watts, like a person can listen to Alan Watts and you get in the groove right away. But you have a very unique voice. That Imagine song that you spoke out loud, I mean, that could go as viral as any Alan Watts video if people actually realized what, the impact of it. It's just an incredible little video. It's only a couple minutes long, Laina, that William did. But I just wanted to say that too, because we each have that unique spark of the divine, and somehow you have that radio voice, I'll call it, William. I really appreciate that and encourage it in you. Like,
Thank you, Randall.
See that video. I'd love to hear it.
I will send you that. I will also send you a copy of this video too, Laina, so you can, take bits and pieces out of it as your heart's desire.
I just wanted to speak to what William and Randall said, and that's, and when you are a crazy ET outsider like me, that that have been an outsider to everything and a rebel to everybody, you come to celebrate those labels. You don't try to lose them. You try like, oh God, I got this label today, yay. It's kind of like, when I lived in Toronto and I applied for 2,000 jobs and I got nothing. What I ended up doing, I would basically start collecting the fuck off and die letters. Like, yeah, I got another one, got 100 of them, woohoo. And it's kind of like, so you basically change your filter of looking at reality. Like, on Facebook, whatever gets fact checked, yeah, that must be true. This is true. Whatever is on CNN, that's a lie. So it's like, you change. So when somebody who's insane or stupid or is ignorant to say, oh, I agree with you, like, oh shit, oh, okay, something is wrong, and say, you're an idiot. Tell me more. So it's like, that's really the way I work with labels. To me, William, I trust you, I respect you. If you give me a label that hurts, that matters. But if stupid people give me a label that hurts, like, yeah, thank you, give me more.
Awesome. I'd like to do one last round with each of you with any final thoughts that you have, and then we'll wrap up the show. Let's go with Laina. Laina, if you feel inspired and ready to share something, please feel free to jump in and share what you have.
Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation. It was truly an honor to be in the presence of three holy brothers who can have a conversation at a level that just felt so yummy to my soul. So thank you for that. And it was really just an honor, just a delightful way for me to spend this past a little bit over an hour, because it just fed my soul. I'm going through a change in terms of how I'm here to show up in the world, and how I do my work, and all that good stuff. So this I know was a piece that will unfold later on, and it'll show up however it's supposed to. But I recently became a grandmother, and in becoming a grandmother, it has activated the elder in me that has lived many, many lives, and has been, I can say it here, you guys will, I think you'll understand. But I've already been in other places, not of this world, as an elder. And now the elder frequency, the elder energy and wisdom as an elder is opening up, that wouldn't open up had I not prepared for that. So I'm feeling how I am being guided to be a voice for these powerful children, these powerful starseeds. They're coming in awake. So let's not put them to sleep. And so that's I'm sitting with how all of that is unfolding, and just sitting with you guys. I felt like I was in the midst of a council of my elder brothers. So thank you. Thank you all for that. Much gratitude and love for you.
Thank you, Laina. Who would like to go next, gentlemen?
I'll go. I just wanted to say,
1 moment.
That was her machine.
My
Okay.
phone just randomly spoke to us.
that was funny. I wanted to say to Laina that I live in a little city in Mexico where we have a huge sort of a persuasion of A Course in Miracles. Like, it's huge. And so it's funny because I went to this thing called Ecstatic Dance we have here, and one of the ACIM people, and I didn't know, her name is Anna Kujiva, you may know her, she does this. Anyway, she did some kind of a poetry, and it was about trusting. And I'm like, it's interesting you say that. I didn't know her. I said, for me, I say trust and surrender. And she's like, wow, that's so cool. And did you learn that from ACIM? And I'm like, no, I don't do ACIM. And it's funny because I had several conversations with her. Every time she's like, did you get that from ACIM? I'm like, no, I don't do ACIM. So it's like, it's funny because I get all these downloads, you know, whatever. It's most of it is either download or observation or just common sense, but it's so connected. Like, you know, like one time I told her that, you know, today I didn't have any miracles, so it was strange. And she's like, oh my God, that is so ACIM. And I'm like, that's, you know, just, yeah, you have a miracle of talking to, you know, it's, life is supposed to be miracles and magic. So that's one thing I wanted to say. And then the other thing is that, William, I really wanted to thank you for, because I know, you know, the operation of your head, and I wanted to put you on a spot to kind of get Vilche out in the, you know, spotlight, and hopefully this would kickstart you bringing him out more. And one thing I wanted to do, and I didn't do, he's at a level and you're at a level that Vilche even can do Q&A. I was gonna ask people to ask Vilche questions, but I didn't do that this time. But that's something that you have the ability to do. You're extremely capable. And as Laina said, it is not easy at all to connect to your inner child and to be so present and so clear and so connected. And so I think to me, this is a gift that, it's your gift and it's your gift to humanity. And I really would love to watch this flourish more.
Thank you, Hamid. Randall.
Well, the word child and elder came up in this last couple minutes, and which is which, I think the child is the elder, because it's the common sense, it's the logic, it's the logos, it's the Christos, it is the simplicity. The adult is the one that creates stories, and then we live out these stories in a world of man, in a construct where, for instance, just quickly on my front, dealing with, if you can imagine, the people inside the depths of banking, well beyond any retail and wholesale, like these guys, the truths that I speak on my channel about off-ledger banking and non-orthodox banks compared to orthodox banks, that all exists. Like, there's so much abundance and so many layers, okay, of banking that, the average person doesn't have a clue about. And you can imagine me playing in that world where these people have made this construct, right? This story of off-ledger banking. And I'm like, yeah, well, it's still a story. There's still abundance, no matter how you put it. You want to talk about gold? Sure, gold has value, but who puts the value on the gold? You want to talk about credit? Who puts the value on credit? It's still us. It's still the human construct. We're still telling stories to each other. So, you want to tell stories and make up stories that someone else is going to adhere to, go ahead, but I'm not buying it. The truth is, we have abundance. We have the capacity to give comfort to every single human being, just as every other animal has its comfort for free, and supply funding for projects that are beneficial to all, period. And I repeat those thoughts in my head and out loud on my videos and as I'm walking every day, so that I ground myself in that reality that the child is the elder, the simple, logical one. So that's all I got to say, with peace, harmony, love, abundance, and freedom for everyone and everything every day on my mind. William, you finish it off for us. I love you, brother. Thanks to Laina and Hamid for joining us today.
Thank you, Randall. Wow, some interesting moments in this session for sure. The Vilche coming to visit, obviously, but also the one moment please cue that came right in the perfect time. It seemed like it's almost like, if anyone needs to pay attention to Hamid and what he's saying, now is the time. One moment, please. Get yourself collected and start listening. That's the message that I got from that. And then Randall started talking, and then the animals started showing up in the background in the sounds. And I thought, cue the animals, perfect. Randall took that cue right on the nose. So that was awesome. I just want to end it with obviously with thanks, but what I've been noticing too is I speaking of acceptance that we talked about earlier as well, is I have watched and have been watching a lot of different videos from a lot of different realms, the US political realm, the ET realm, the spiritual realm, all these different realms. And what I'm starting to notice is an interesting cohesion. Things are starting to line up. It's like all of a sudden we're hearing things on the ET realm that's sort of related to the spiritual realm, and we're hearing things in the quantum physics scientific realm dealing with politics, and all these things are sort of there's all of a sudden they're starting to cross lines and cross paths, and they're lining up, and I'm finding that totally fascinating and exciting in a way too. So I think that's awesome. And I know there wasn't time in this show, but perhaps in the future to talk about, and it was one word. The word is intention. I think intention is so important now as we go in and go forward in our lives, that what is my intention? What is it that I want to create? What is it that I want for myself? What is it that I want for humanity? What is that intention? And so that's a word I will leave with all of you, with myself, and with our viewers. And I thank you all for for jumping in. It's just a perfect call today. Thank you so much, everyone.
Blessings to all.